So pause your business right now and think of who on your team you need to gather to get the ball rolling to start reimagining your supply chain. In this episode, Fab and I are diving into strategy and helping you to reimagine what your business can achieve with autonomy so that you are not losing out on a competitive advantage. So hi Fab, give us a bird's eye view. What happens when you reimagine your supply chain?
Well, one thing I like to focus on, I like the word reimagine. I think too many organizations just replicate processes. But when you're dealing with the world of the autonomous supply chain and you're dealing with streams of large data and machine learning and artificial intelligence, you really need to rethink those traditional processes. You need to reimagine how people are going to interact with these new capabilities. How are they going to make decisions differently? And so starting with that visioning process, I think, is absolutely critical.
Absolutely, and I would agree with that because supply chain is such a broad subject, right? It touches so many pieces of the business. So if you're going to be adding that type of technology, we need to make sure that every single department, every single thing that you're touching is going to be able to collaborate and talk to each other. So what are the first steps in really partnering with maybe a tech partner then to really make sure that what you're doing from the start is really conducive to your business and reimagining that supply chain?
Right, so I'm going to break it down into a few different things. So one is, I think it's important that the company has a vision. So we talked about our moonshot, right? So we have this nirvana that we're trying to reach for, and we're going to take people, we're on that journey and we want to take people with us. So I think that's critical. At the same time, there has to be a temperance against practical application. So there's a challenge in the industry where people get really enamored with buzzwords, particularly around technology, but it has to be practically applied. And that's where the collaboration with our customers becomes really critical. And then really the third thing is it has to be focused on value, right? What's the tangible result that you're really driving towards? And if you think you can keep your eye on that, then this becomes a lot simpler.
Which is what we're focusing on today, right? Is actionable takeaways that you can implement right away. So then what would be your advice on looking for that supplier, looking for somebody that has that same type of commitment that is really, looking towards your vision?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, I think having that company having a vision is critical, but I would temper it is it a company that has proven results, right? Have they, do they have experience in the space? Do they have a track record of success of driving value? And do they have a track record of driving practical adoption of capability? I think that's absolutely critical.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. So now that we know how to partner with the right suppliers, we need to take a look at workflows and process. I would imagine that that's kind of the next step. So what does that look like from a mapping perspective?
Well, as I mentioned, I think the big focus is on revisioning as opposed to replicating and understanding how your associates are going to be interacting in this new paradigm. As I mentioned before, you have streams of data coming in, you've got autonomous decisions being made, you have insights being created. What does their day-to-day look like? What are their decisions look like? Are they elevated the way they need to be? Are they still dealing in the minutia? So I think mapping that is an absolutely critical step.
Wow, I love that. So in summary, we now know the importance of surrounding ourselves with suppliers that have the same mindset and are working toward the same goals. Plus, we have a good idea of what we should be identifying in our workflows and what the mapping process will look like.